interested in media coverage with over 80,000 podcast playbacks per month, along with automated outreach to thousands of customized targets to grow your revenue more efficiently? With over $8 billion in new sales pipeline growth delivered to our partners so far, we can help. Please reach out for more information. Hey everybody, welcome to Supply Chain Innovators, and it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Ross Wishart, which I think he's actually pronouncing it incorrectly. But I think he does that on purpose, just to screw up podcast hosts and people like that. Is that really your name? I think you're going underneath a pseudonym. I think you're...
No, well,
I'm suspicious.
That's what I was taught.
Okay.
My family.
I'm suspicious of everybody from Felixstowe. No, that's not true. Not true, but I probably should. No, I don't know.
That's understandable.
Is it understandable? Okay, great. Managing director at Express Global International Limited. And I love it, dude. You know, I used to work for a company called Express Global Systems. And it was, you know, it was the silly no E, just XPRESS.
Right. Yeah.
There was nothing global about what we did. It was it was a niche floor covering carrier and distributor throughout the United States is what it was.
Well, for some reason we've gone double on the global with global and international, which unfortunately that came about rather unfortunately when we did our rebrand back in 2020. We couldn't just be called Express Global, so we had to tack in someone else, and this was not done by me. We became Express Global International.
It reminded me of the Monty Python's Department of Redundancy Department. Remember that? Hello, Department of Redundancy Department. Hello. I love it. I love it. I love it. What do you guys do? Tell us about Express Global International. Are you indeed international, or are both those things wrong?
No,
it'd be even better if you were purely domestic.
No, we most certainly are. So Express Global is a brand, is actually the freight forwarding arm of the Fratelli Kostelich group. Fratelli Kostelich is a name that many listeners will hopefully be familiar with, because it's a large multinational corporation, has been in existence since 1857 and has, you know, many aspects to it, and is involved in many elements of shipping and logistics. Express Global, which was formed back in our head office in Italy in 1999, is the freight forwarding arm of the Fratelli Kostelich group. And then Express Global since then has kind of expanded, and we're now obviously all across Italy being our base, but also all across Europe with branches in Antwerp, Felixstowe, New York, locations across China as well, along with also Eastern European via our sister company, TPG Express.
Gotcha.
I joined the company back in 2020, and when they asked me to come and take over the UK branch, and just kind of help the development and expansion of the United Kingdom and our presence there.
Awesome. So it's because you had a background in freight forwarding, or was it just because you had the right accent?
Potentially a bit of both. An accent that certainly the Italians can understand, but also, yes, I'm predominantly sort of a freight forwarder based. It's where I've spent certainly the bulk of my career, and the UK division is slightly differently, because it was originally just Fratelli Kostelich UK, and it was there purely to serve as kind of a satellite of the existing Express Global operations. But really the mission was to expand and grow and to become more of an independent freight forwarder. So that's why I was brought in. And we've since taken and evolved that so that we are truly now an all-encompassing multinational freight forwarder.
Do you still have like heavy concentration in your routes, or are you guys fairly spread throughout I guess you're really concentrated on the global north, or are you into like India and in the south, you know, South America, et cetera?
Everything. I mean, as a freight forwarder, I don't think you can really be in a position to say no to anything. We, of course, have our strengths. There's no doubt about it. And we're very proud still of our foundations and the core services that we operate, particularly out of out of Italy, and also connecting with our other branches in the US and across Europe and China. But we're a freight forwarder, so we're not just restricted to using our own branches and our own partners.
Yeah.
We operate services all around the world: Indian
Yeah.
subcontinent, North, South America, even Africa, and of course all across the Far East. The UK is predominantly an importing based
Yeah.
economy nation, and as a result, we're here to serve our customers, new and old, with all of their logistical requirements. So
Yeah.
wherever it is they need to sell their goods to or potentially purchase their goods from, we're here to support them.
I love it. I love it. With your international background, freight forwarding, obviously through there, I think it's really interesting to, my audience is global. It is skewed, as you would suspect, a little bit over 60% North America, really Mexico through Canada, United States. But it is global. But your perspective on the key trends that you see happening right now, right? And they change almost daily, right? There's fear because of this, there's fear because of that, and a lot of people see through those fears. You've been around the block once or twice, and you know that, the Red Sea being shut down really doesn't impact the United States, but it sure as hell impacts Europe, right? So you see this international flavor. What are kind of the trends that you're seeing right now? Do you see positivity? Do you see chaos? Do you see powering through these things? Do you see potential positives out of the chaos? Or, as we watch this sausage being made, so to speak, is there going to be a good, let's see, what is good? Not haggis. Italian sauce. Let's go with Italian sauce.
Well, Scottish by birth, so I'm a big fan of the haggis. So I'm more
okay.
than
All right. I apologize. I take it back. I bangers and mash. Actually, I can deal with.
Very good. Yeah. Of course, is the industry and the world of supply chains in somewhat of a flux at the moment? Absolutely. However, I think you could have said that pretty much any week for the last decade almost. I had a conversation with a colleague recently where we were harking back to the good old days, and I remember moaning sort of 15 years ago about, oh crikey, this is happening. Well, I mean, what I'd perhaps give to be back in those times now, certainly.
Yeah, those were like everything is just steady and normal compared to now.
Just a cakewalk, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, at the moment, is it difficult? Of course it is, absolutely. I think potentially more so for you and your listeners on your side of the pond there, Michael, because there are sort of decisions that are being made, rightly or wrongly, that are having significant impact.
Absolutely,
particularly on international trade.
Yeah.
The long game and the bigger picture is international trade will continue. It's not like all of a sudden this whole system, this whole operation is going to grind to the whole. Absolutely not. International trade will continue. It will continue to grow, and it will continue to expand, and it will just get busier and busier. Are there some speed humps, hurdles on that path? Absolutely, there are. Is there an awful lot that we in our positions can really do about it? Other than our mission is to simply help our customers try to mitigate some of those circumstances, or to help them navigate through that. That's the role of a freight forwarder, because we have to find the way. Okay.
Well, their difficulties, really, their difficulties come in a lot of fulfillment, right? The international order and fulfillment is what we're talking about here. Is there a tariff? Isn't there a tariff? Are these guys trading partners? Are there sanctions here? Are there sanctions there? If you're in Felixstowe and you're trying to get somebody in the United States to purchase something from Asia, you've got to worry about where do all the inputs and pieces, parts of that come from 3-4 steps upstream. Right. Mm-hmm. Those are all the difficulties that we're talking about here, right? I mean, how do you deal with those type of things? I mean, these are the challenges we're talking about that are getting bigger and bigger, right? Or more and more complex because of what we're talking about.
And I think probably the difficulty is, and maybe the frustrations are, that these decisions being made I wouldn't necessarily say on a whim, but certainly with immediate impact. And there's very little you can do about that.
And a bit of ignorance, not stupidity, but just ignorance to all of those, right? You mean you should have international procurement and freight forwarding people who know it intimately involved and to understand the true economic impacts and what can have, right?
Yeah, absolutely that. And we're here to sort of guide, consult all of our customers, if you will, because they don't want to. They don't even want to. They don't even necessarily consider or think about their supply chains or their logistics. Their mission is to make their thing, source their thing, and then go sell their thing. How it gets between those points, well, that's why you employ a freight forwarder.
Yeah, that's your job.
Yeah, very much so. And then it then becomes the onus is on us, and we take great pride in that responsibility because if we were to drop the ball, the impact that can have on our customer and their customers is massive, and it's their business, it's their livelihoods. So of course that's a huge responsibility, and we take that with a great amount of humility, which is why we have to kind of prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And we plan to the nth degree and try to mitigate some of these factors and these market conditions. It's not, of course, it's not easy.
No.
Because the seas of this industry are changing so
Well,
rapidly.
you've got a plan for something that may or may not occur, and even if it does occur, it may only last for a few months. I mean, right now, right? I mean, that's not easy. And how do you keep two or three different sources for the same different materials happy in order to get you know consistent quality, volume, and rate? If they understand the game too, right? I mean,
You then become some form of like trader or hedge fund entrepreneur, because you're actually you're coming to the customer with all of these options and these possible scenarios, and you say, well, kind of, I think it might have go this way, but things can happen at a moment in time that'll pivot and it'll go
right,
somewhere.
but and you've got to keep them all happy so that if it does turn, they're there for you and aren't somewhere else, right? I mean, loyalty becomes a very difficult thing to spread around, right?
When loyalty, of course, when things happen beyond your control that can have an impact on somebody's supply chain, that you can try to do your best to kind of catch up and help them in that scenario. But yeah, a lot of these elements, and certainly a lot of these things that have happened over the last few months, have happened instantaneously, have led to supply chain impact, and then the freight forwarder then becomes kind of the bad guy. I mean, we're just the middleman. All we're here doing is kind of relaying on this information, but because we're the ones that we're the source of that information, then it reflects poorly on us. So it's
Yeah,
yeah,
you're the messenger getting shot with the arrows.
afraid so, afraid so.
Yeah, right. I
Yeah,
mean, would you say that one of the biggest challenges right now for shippers? I mean, all the things that we talked about right now, but if you're a shipper and the consignee, the buyer, right? I mean, both similar challenge. I would imagine shippers is convincing people that they are going to be the source and be allowed to be the source, right? For long. But at the same time, the purchaser and or consignee has to convince these shippers that they're going to be the customer, right? because of these things. So is the biggest challenge not finding the Ross Wisharts out there who understand all this and give them the best chance of success because you're up on things, and isn't that the challenge really, is to have a good solid freight forwarder who understands what the current challenges are?
and I think, and as much as the industry is moving kind of at breakneck speed now into technological advances, and obviously the impact of AI, I think where we're seeing is certainly in the flux of the industry at the moment, perhaps some of the bigger players really struggling because they're too big to adapt, or to be able to kind of change gears quickly.
Point. That's a good point.
So really, I mean, I would always encourage shippers or consignees to choose wisely your logistics partner. Build genuine personal relationships with them, because they will hold your hand through this process, and they will be there to support you and your business in the long term. Yes, it's going to be difficult to kind of weather those stormy seas right now. I get that. They will help you, and then long term, they'll be there to support your business.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that you bring up that point, because it's been something I've been kind of talking to different people about and discussing and kind of feeling out other people's, because I'm it feels to me that we're not on the precipice, but we're certainly, in my opinion, moving to in a direction where those niche or smaller, but certainly more personal relationships, discussions by phone, are becoming more and more important because of the proliferation of, like you say, AI and other technologies that allow instant spamming, if you will, or artificial intelligence is probably being proved to be one of the worst intelligences there are, because it doesn't have any street smarts. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it has a bit of a way to go before you're actually talking to Ross, who could give you his sentiment layered over top of all this cold data. That is equally important, but you got to have that street smart sentiment. Is that kind of what you're saying?
AI is and will become an even bigger and more powerful tool. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt. No doubt.
We will use that to help us manage some of that mundane admin requirements. Help use that to help eliminate some of the errors potentially, or the human element within those processes. However, what AI does not possess is the experience, the knowledge, the be able to sort of pivot and firefight that we seem to be doing on a daily basis, because it's just purely based off data and programming. It needs to. This is why the people will always play. Well, that's always, it's difficult to say in the very, very long term, but certainly for quite some time, people will play a very significant part in this operation for some time to come.
Agreed, and I think that the AI and everything actually forces that focus even more and more. And one of those, for instance, if I were to utilize AI, et cetera, to just start spamming you to try and get you to be on this podcast, right? I'd have never gotten to you. I wrote a personal note to you saying, "Hey Ross, I'd love to have you on here, and here's why," etc. Right? And it took one, because I actually wrote it and sent it to you, because your moats get really, really deep and wide, or your walls get thicker to filter through all that spam. And so it's harder and harder for us to collaborate with each other with legitimate ideas and legitimate cost or asks or suggestions. Do you see that?
And the amount of messages and emails I receive from people, where, I mean, if it's not even addressed to me at the beginning, then I'll ignore it. You know, if you can't even put the effort of teaching your whatever it is to do your messaging to pick my name and say hi Ross, then why? If it's just good afternoon or just hello, come on, then it's just I'm a copy and paste, and actually, again, that's not personal, and I'm actually not going to respond to it or react to it. Certainly not positively, anyway. So, we're in a service industry. People do business with people, and people need to understand and trust people to really help support them, particularly at this moment in time. And that's why those connections, those relationships are really, really important.
You talked about a lot of different challenges and a lot of ways to really overcome those, right? You see where I'm going here. Can you summarize that? Like, not. I don't want you to write a book report for me, but what do you think are what are the keys to success that you yourself as a professional see, and obviously that would then relate to express Express Global International and how you solve these challenges for your customers? Where are you focusing on that are the keys to this? I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess relationships in there.
And it really truly is, because
Which,
again,
yeah,
we're a service industry, and actually we rely on people to deliver that service. And the group, as significant and as large as it is, it's still very people orientated as a group. We very much all feel part of this, the Kostelich family, that truly people first mentality thread runs through every single company associated within the group. And to all of our clients and suppliers, we genuinely put a lot of effort into forming and building those relationships, because that's absolutely paramount, and to truly develop a greater level of trust and respect and understanding we all have for each other, and that way will genuinely serve each other a lot better. So, irrelevant of the what's happening at this precise moment, or potentially where technology is going, relationships, people, trust is going to be absolutely paramount, I'd say, to any service industry.
gotcha. So give me first of all, do you have any advice for the people that are watching right now that would potentially be your customers or are your customers? What are the? I understand what you said, the keys to success, et cetera. But what should they be doing right now? And I mean, is it searching for a solid freight forwarder, solid logistics company that understands everything? I mean, obviously, you don't want to search for someone who's bad, but what do they need to do? Should they be educating themselves and really looking towards this? And I mean, one of mine, for instance, I would say, look, because they say they're AI, it doesn't impress me. Look at what they do, what's their service, et cetera, and then worry about that stuff later. Because just AI, don't just, it's like saying, oh, data, I got to have blockchain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, listen, everybody's going to be using AI, so
Sure.
there's no point sort of just using that as a
Most
tool.
people already are, and they don't even know it.
Well,
It's just things they're using are right.
absolutely. So you can't use that kind of as a target. Um, just finding someone that you can connect with on a personal level. I mean, yes, I would always encourage all shippers and consignees to understand your supply chain. To really, you're the ones that will truly understand your pinch points now. Yes, you can onboard a really good freight forwarder, somebody, have those conversations, and within time, someone like me will learn where your pinch points are and where your struggles are with your supply chain. But that's going to take time, and that will take a number of conversations to reach that point. So you already know, as the business owner, where your troubles are. So
Yeah.
have that, find someone that you can have that honest and open conversation with, even if it's your existing freight forwarder. Say, this is where I'm struggling, and this is where I need you to help or do better, for to take my business forward. I need to take my business forward. I need you to go and fix this for me so I can go and take my business forward. And that's understanding your supply chain, or even taking a step back and trying to think, actually, am I doing the right thing here, even
Mm.
from my suppliers, reaching my customers, from time frame point of view, from a cost point of view. Just look at all of those areas, bundle it all together, and then just try to understand, come from a supplier point of view, come from a customer point of view, and think, actually, could it be better? It might not be.
Yeah,
It might
you might be doing great, right? Yeah.
might be absolutely fine, but at least just take a moment to think about it and try to understand, actually, could it be better?
Yeah.
Then have those conversations. Have those conversations with your teams, with your staff, and then with all of your stakeholders involved, and say, I'm not sure. I think it could be better. And actually get your people involved, and you'd probably be surprised by some of the answers.
I love it. I love it. Hey, what's the best way for people to connect with you, and who should be grabbing you?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm always happy to help. I love talking to people. I generally do, Michael. Thank you to you for reaching out. So
Yeah.
if anyone would honestly like to have a conversation with me, so Ross Wishart of Express Global in the UK, feel free to email me on r.wishart@expressglobal.com or connect
Right.
with me on LinkedIn.
Or go to expressglobal.com with an EX spelled correctly, expressglobal.com, and you can send a general message that way as well. Right?
And reach out to, if you've got any sort of logistical requirements in any of our locations, that will connect you up with any of my colleagues, wherever they might be in the world. They're all there to help you.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming on, Ross. This has been great. It's been a great episode. Everybody, thanks for tuning in and downloading this episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love, Ross. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael.